Hello, beautiful humans. This is Dayelene and Jules from the Empowering Women Project, and you're listening to the EWP podcast.
This podcast is for the women who know deep in their soul they are here for more. If you are done with the BS stories and limiting beliefs that are holding you back from your dreams becoming a reality,
come jump in the driver's seat and pave the way back home to her. This is a space for you to feel seen, heard, supported, and accepted for who you are, who you were, and who you're becoming.
Celebrating you wherever you are in your journey. Sit back, grab a tea or a wine, and come empower yourself with us. Jules and Day, let's grow. Hello and welcome back to the EWP.
Hello, beautiful humans.
Just a disclaimer for this episode. If you are having difficulty conceiving, are experiencing grief from loss, please do a body check-in to see if you feel comfortable tuning in today, as we're going to be chatting all things motherhood. And I know this can feel uncomfortable to listen to if you are navigating some big things. So please stop listening now and tune in at a later time if it's going to be too much for your system today.
Sending you so much love as well, beautiful humans. Today we're going to be talking all about mum life. Obviously, we're going to be touching on birth stories, single mum life, parenting, co-parenting, our mamas, healing as a mama, navigating life's ebbs and flows as mamas, and just all of the itty-gritty, nitty-gritty bits. Welcome.
Sounds good. Can't wait. Let's dive in.
Well, let's go.
All right. So I think one of the first things we'll start with is our birth stories. How exciting.
I love it.
You've got 3. I've got 1. So you can go first.
Okay. All of my birth stories, I don't have anything to really say that they were chaotic or bad or anything. I literally, with Oliver, I actually thought when my water broke, I was weeing myself, because I was such a young mom. So I was like, oh my God. And I was, my water broke. And then it was about a 5.5 hour birth. And it was pretty magical, to be honest, from the first contraction, to, giving birth, there was no intervention or anything except for the fact of he had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. So they kind of had to hold his shoulders in a little bit. And then, he was birthed and I breastfed him. Then going to Heath, it was another magical, beautiful experience. I remember one of the nurses was crying with how embodied I was and how in control, and I could literally hear other people having their babies because I was just so in my body, and I didn't have painkillers, I didn't have any drugs, nothing like that. And worst case scenario was a cesarean, but I was that's my life or death only. And it was actually funny. Some of the people would be offering me to have painkillers and stuff like that, but I was just so anti it. I don't know why. Maybe it was just my intuition, but because being a young mom, I kind of didn't really know. I read books and had my midwife appointments and stuff like that. But it was just just something in me was there's no drugs and we're not going that way. So, and then going into Kobe, he was eager to be here. From the first contraction to the last was just under 2 hours. And at the time we lived half an hour drive from the hospital, and the hospital was renovating, and I literally had to hold him in and then go from the birthing suite because that was all locked. We had to go to emergency, and then the lady was slightly freaking out, have you ever birthed a baby before? And she's like, no. That's why I'm freaking out. And then I was like, oh, it's good, this is my 3rd child. But got into the birthing suite the long way around, and they just sat me in a waiting room, and I was like, I'm going to have the baby. And I pretty much birthed him with Kobe's dad. He was pretty much mostly out by the time the nurses got onto it because they didn't believe me, or I don't know, they must have been at the end of the shift or whatever. And then coming out of the hospital, because Western society these days, if you've had a couple of kids are and public system as well, they're all right, you can leave, we don't have enough room. And then a few hours after giving birth, I was walking across the road after this really short labor, holding Kobe and just looking at him going, I just had a baby, and I hadn't processed it. It was a really weird feeling, but all of my births were very beautiful, no drugs. and just, they went straight on the boob. There was no complications with breastfeeding or anything like that. So I can't really talk into, the crazy experiences that some women have. Mine were all very beautiful and very embodied, and it was beautiful. I love it.
Wow. And what about your support? Did you feel heavily supported?
With my first son, I did, because I still had all my friends and stuff like that. But going into the second and third, because obviously they've got different dads to Ollie, a different dad to Ollie, sorry. I felt less supported in the other two than what I did in the first one. And with Ollie, I was a young mum, so I think there was more support in the hospital because I was 16 and pregnant. They had like a youth mum sort of program, so you had more appointments and more check-ins and stuff, but the more babies obviously have, I think I had less support. But I feel like the aftercare and all the rest of it, not really supported so much. Like I had the people come over and check, like the midwives or a nurse come check at home and all the rest of it. But yeah, I feel like mums need a little bit more time in hospital, like just to kind of find their groove. And the more babies you sort of have, you kind of need that rest time just with baby to bond and all the rest of it. But it was a weird experience, I guess, reflecting now as a young mum. They probably could have done a little bit more, but still really grateful that, I had my stance and my beliefs and my values in check. And I did it the way that I wanted to.
Who was present for the actual births in the room with you?
I had Ollie's grandma and, two of Ollie's grandmas for his and his dad. And then the other ones were his Sam's mom and Sam, and I think that's all. And then obviously the nurses and stuff like that. I don't know. It was just a beautiful experience reflecting on it, like how
nice.
Embodied it all was. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful birth story. Like, just so seamless. She makes it sound so easy, guys. Like, it's just,
No, it did. The recovery of it definitely hurt. I remember going down like the elevator at the hospital, and like because you're used to having weight on you, I remember like every time I'd like fall forward, I'm like, whoa, like getting your balance back and everything like that. But it definitely wasn't seamless. It definitely was painful. But I feel like the more in control of your mind and your body that you are, the easier it is. That's my experience anyway.
Absolutely. And did you have a plan?
Yeah. So it was just like soft music, and I wanted dim lights, and the worst case scenario obviously was the C-section, no drugs. So it was, I would love, if I did it over again, to do a water birth and experience that at home. I think it would be so empowering. And I think we're actually going to be having a doula on soon that's going to be talking about this. So really cool.
Exciting. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, good, honey. What about you with Huddy?
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I was nervous leading up to it because I didn't know if anyone was going to be allowed to be in the birth room with me, for one, because of COVID, because they had changed the rules back and forth. And, my family was in Canada and Dad wasn't involved in the picture. So it was really interesting working that out. And I had been going and seeing a chiropractor for a while through my whole pregnancy. And he was like, oh, my wife's actually a volunteer doula. And he knew my story. As you know, when you go and you see your health practitioners, they get to know who you are and your journeys and all the rest of it. So he was asking me, do you have anyone supporting you? And I was like, actually, no, like, I'm not really sure. I might just have the midwives at the hospital at this stage. And he was like, well, no, he's like, let me put you in contact with my wife. So I got in contact with her, and she was just incredible. Like, she was just amazing. I sent her my birth plan, which was very similar to yours, the dim lighting, and I brought all my essential oils and, all the things that I knew would just support me in being calm, the oils to put on my body, and all the rest of it. So I just knew, I wanted to just have a calm, relaxing atmosphere. And I knew I wanted water involved in some way, shape, or form. So that was part of it. And very similar, like, obviously I would be open to emergency measures if they had to, but I would much prefer to do everything possible to birth naturally. And as well, the same, I didn't want any interventions with pain medications. And such. So yeah, I remember my mucus plug coming out and my water's breaking a few days later, and I was just like, okay, right, this is happening. And I messaged the doula, and she dropped everything. She came right over. Her husband took over. I think she had 3 or 4 kids herself, and he just took over the reins at home. And she came over and she was timing my contractions, and she was like, okay, she's like, I think we need to go to the hospital. And she had only planned to come and be with me for that like initial phase. So I didn't have to do it at home. But then she was like, I'm going to bring your bag. She's like, you go, I'm calling you an ambulance. I'm going to meet you there. So lovely of her. She met me there and she never left my side. So yeah, she just held the space so beautifully. And she was such an amazing advocate and kept supporting me in using my voice, because I found my experience, I had to use my voice quite a lot. So she was just very supportive of that. Like, I just remember they wanted to do like lots of interventive measures where they go in and check how far you're dilated. And for me, being a woman who's come from childhood sexual abuse and from being abused as an adult, I found that really difficult to just have someone constantly, like the whole thing to me was pretty overwhelming and traumatic due to the area of my body that people were going to be looking at and, touching and probing and all the rest of it. So it was really full on. But she supported me in saying, like, we don't need to be checking her every 30 minutes and how far she's dilated. We can lengthen that and, let's let her tune into her body. And that was just stressing out the midwives and the doctors because they just wanted to be in there checking all the time. So I was really grateful for her in just supporting me with using my voice, which was wonderful. I think I was in active labor for 24 hours. And I was 41 plus 6. So Huddy was comfy and he was not wanting to go anywhere. He was loving being in mommy's belly. But at about, I think 10 hours it was, I was just already exhausted, and I had tried they have baths in the birthing suite. So I had tried sitting in there, but that exasperated the pain. For some reason, the pressure, I don't know why. I also think it was just the heightened emotions of the hospital staff. So as you said, I would love, if I did it all over again, or if I have the chance to have another child, I would love to try doing it at home and just have less of that medical sort of intervention and just listen more to my body and, have the calm atmosphere of the energy of the house and all the rest of it. But yeah, so at about that mark, and I was just in excruciating pain. So I ended up having morphine. It did absolutely nothing. And then carried on, and it was at about 20 hours. So 10 hours later, they were like, okay, here's your 2 choices. You're still only 6 centimeters dilated. There's no way this baby can come out, and we've got to make sure we've got to prep your body. So you either need to have an emergency C-section, and we'll get you prepped for that right now, or you need to have an epidural. So I was like, okay. And they're like, it's quite dangerous for us to do an epidural at this stage, but we'll try, we'll do our best. So what they did was they, stepped in and did the epidural and had, the anesthesiologist come in and do that. And, what happened was my body just was able to actually relax, and it allowed me to dilate the further 4 centimeters to get to 10 centimeters. So he came 4 hours later. And then, the thing that was so weird about having the epidural was you literally can't feel from the waist down. So I found it really difficult. They're like, push. And I'm like, I'm trying, but you don't actually know if you're pushing or not, because you actually don't have control of your body. And then he came out and he didn't cry straight away. And I was like, oh my God. And then he cried. And then they said, oh, we think he might have got a little bit of, I think it's called meconium. Is that what it's called? Yeah. So we'll need to look into that further. And then they put him on the scale, and it was like 4.4 kilos. And I was like, wow. I was like, wowzy. And then I went into a little bit of shock, actually. And I just was super nauseous, and I was vomiting, and I was just, I think just like the rush of everything just really like, whew. So I just needed to take a minute and like reconnect back with my body. And then I held him and I did skin to skin for, I think we were in the hospital for 5 or 6 days, which is very different to your experience. And I think I did skin to skin where he only wore a nappy, I think, for 3 days. And I just really like spent this exponential time bonding with him, and took to breastfeeding straight away, which was fantastic. And then we were discharged and went home. So it was really beautiful once I had him a little bit later. And she took all of my birth videos and photos, which was phenomenal. I still haven't looked like back at them deeply because, I think we go through such beautiful but yet traumatic things, and then we get stuck into motherhood. So note to self, I will go back and have a little look-ski at those. I'm sure they're beautiful, and I'm sure they'll bring up heaps of memories. Where I spent most of the time literally just sitting on a yoga ball in the shower. And I remember they had like towels because all of the water was like seeping out of the bathroom into the hospital room, but they were just trying to make sure I was so comfortable. So they were like mopping it up, and the whole room was just a steam bath. It was like a sauna in there. So some really beautiful moments and memories, but also some really tricky and challenging ones to navigate.
There's so much love, honey. Just imagine, I know how like controlling, they just want to get like their notes out and do all that sort of stuff. I remember that. I remember one was like pulling on my placenta with Kobe, and I was like, what? I'm like, I know from previous experience was I need to breastfeed them on both boobs before my placenta like let's go. And I hadn't done that yet. I only breastfed on one, and I'm like, I have to do it. But she was like yanking it because they want to take it away and do their thing with it. But crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, do you want to cut the umbilical cord? I was like, what? I was like, oh, no, thank you. I'm like, by all means, anyone else in this room can cut that, but there is no way that I'm looking down and cutting my own umbilical cord. I'm sorry, but I just cannot.
God. Oh, the boys' dad cut their umbilical cords, and they said it felt like calamari. Like it was just like real, like. But if I had my time again, I would do the placenta capsules. I would leave the umbilical cord on for a lot longer. I would say get out to all the nurses a lot sooner and just let me spend time with my baby. But yeah.
So I actually saved my placenta. They packaged my placenta up and put it in the freezer to take with me. Because I was going to do the placenta capsule thing, and then I read all these things about like, making soup, and I went down a crazy rabbit hole, and then I just couldn't bring myself to do it, and it just sat in my freezer for a very long time until I properly disposed of it. So don't worry. No, it's not still in my freezer. It's been 3 years. It is well and truly gone to the right avenues of where it should be.
I was like, was that the tacos that you gave us? The meat tacos when we came stay?
Too much, Dayelene, too much. That's her humor coming out, guys. So something I have to deal with that you guys don't ever get to see.
Every day, you poor thing. I don't know how you navigate it sometimes.
You? Don't know how I navigate you? I don't know. I don't know either. Keeps me sane though. Keeps me laughing, and yeah, I love our friendship. So yeah, that is the birth stories. T.
Oh my god, how beautiful! I haven't really reflected on my birth stories that much. Yeah, but you definitely need to go back and watch some videos and have the photos. It reminds me, I was so insecure as like a teenager that I just didn't really get photos. I've got one photo of me and Heath together, and that's all. Yeah, I just didn't want anyone taking photos of me in like a vulnerable state, I guess. So yeah, if I went back now, I would totally do it different. So yeah,
I think I just had grown such comfort because it was the same midwives coming in, and I definitely asked for no males. So from memory, the only male that came in was the anesthesiologist and to do the epidural. But aside from that, it was just females. And so I felt kind of like safe and comfortable. And because she was taking them on my own phone, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I do need to go back and have a look at those. And then, I breastfed Hudson he was such a boob guzzler. Breastfed him for 2.5 years. We only just stopped this past September.
I remember that. How was the transition?
It was sad. It was a mixture of both, really, because I hadn't had my full body for such a long time. But then it was also really sad because I was like, oh, this really means he's growing up. And then I missed it so much. And then I remember a few days or a week went by and he, because he was only doing it at nighttime for a while, but he turned to me, Mama, I want boopy. And I'm like, baby, boopy's done. Like, boopy's finished. And I remember getting the last photo because, you can feel when it's starting to end. And so those last couple of moments, like I remember just getting like photos, and I have so many photos of him like breastfeeding across the years. It's crazy.
Oh, how beautiful. It's so beautiful to breastfeed. I breastfed all the kitties, but Heath was the boob guzzler. Like, I could not leave him with anyone, and it was like I'd have to go to work and come home. If his dad was looking after him to breastfeed him and stuff, he just loved the boobie like nothing else. Like, he would not take to a bottle. Like, it was just, he just wanted that connection, which was beautiful. I think it's the best thing ever to bond with your kid, just looking at them and all their noises, and they're like, when they fall asleep, still like suckling. Oh,
I know, it makes me clucky. It's such a beautiful feeling, such a beautiful bond to have that connection. And yeah, and it's crazy how our bodies just know. Like, there was a period where he would go to daycare one day a week, and just for the exposure of it, of the social aspect and getting used to other people, because he was only really had me. And my body would just know, like, my milk supply would just come in, like it would get used to, okay, I'm picking him up at 3 and he's going to want to feed. So it would be ready to feed him. And I know some women aren't that lucky and that doesn't happen for everybody, but it's like, and then when I went to just feeding him at nighttime, at naps and at nighttime, it was like my body just went with me. Like my body just went with the flow and produced when I needed. I never had let down. I never had, there was a few times where they were a bit engorged, but like never experienced mastitis or anything like that. So yeah, really grateful with my breastfeeding journey.
I got mastitis once, and it was hell on earth. My boobs were like, and they say just keep sort of like breastfeeding or like pumping some out, but my boobs were just so sore. But mine was the same. It was just like always an endless supply. Sometimes it would be completely drained, but you'd still get something. It was just,
Huddy was like, no bottle. I tried putting breast milk in a bottle. He was like, absolutely not. Tried giving a dummy. He was like, no way. He was just like, booby, booby, booby. Like, I swear he knew how to say booby. That was his first word. And then I taught him baby sign language. So this was milk, where you just open and close your fist is what I'm showing Dayelene. But long before he could talk, he could do this. He would come up to me, and as soon as he squeezed his fist in and out, he knew that meant milk, which meant he then got booby.
Oh, how cute. My guys just used to rip my t-shirt and like hang off me, and it's just like, they all literally like would be just trying to get the boob out. That's how they used to communicate. Little terrors, but how beautiful. I didn't know about the little sign language.
Yeah, I taught him that. I taught him more. I taught him all done. I taught him a few of them because I knew sign language from working with students with special needs.
Yeah.
So I thought, I want him to be able to communicate to me. And I think that's really supported us along our journey, because long before he could talk, he could tell me those basic wants and needs. I encourage everyone to give that a go, because I know that transition before they can talk, you can see lots of tantrums, and we kind of glided over that because he was able to tell me what he wanted, and I was able to respond because I had taught him how to tell me.
Yeah, how beautiful.
So, crazy, isn't it?
Oh, if I have another baby one day, then I'll be teaching them baby sign language.
Yeah, I'm so clucky lately. I don't know what it is. Like, Rosie's just had a baby. How beautiful. And I'm just looking at her photos and I'm like, I miss the bump. I miss it all.
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience, hey. Aww.
Come on, future hubby.
Baby number 2, 3, 5, 10, and 12.
No. Let's. Baby number 2 is great. Baby 2 is great. But I'm also so incredibly happy. Like if this was it, if I was one and done, the little human that I've created, he is just miraculous. So I'm grateful for that I've even been able to have one.
He's a little legend. I love him so much.
He's just turned 3.
Oh, happy birthday, honey, for when you listen to this when you're older.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, true. Happy birthday, little honey. So proud of him. Toilet trained and all the rest of it before 3. What a little soldier he is.
Literally, he's a little edge. Yeah, he was like the last week of being 3 into toilet training and just owned it like a little king that he is.
So proud of him. I wish we lived closer, as we always say. We say it at least once a day so that our boys could hang out together. Like I think just combine Kobe and Heath. Kobe and Heath, I think would be such beautiful role models, and Ollie as well, obviously, but because they're much younger and much closer to his age, I think that they would be more inclined to be, just towing him along. And yeah, I could just see it one day before they're older, it will definitely happen where they'll 100%. Be like pulling him along. And yeah.
Aww. I wish. Move here ASAP.
Yeah. Thinking. I'm sure we say this every episode, like.
I know. People are probably like, all right, girls, just move in together.
One day we'll be like, and today's the day where I'm driving to Queensland and we're going to record a few episodes on the way in the car.
Oh my God, imagine.
How good.
Let's do it.
So yeah, what beautiful birth stories. Let's touch on single mama life.
Drum roll, please. Nothing in the world can prepare you for freaking mum life in general. Not taking away from any mums. Single mum life, nothing prepares you for it. It's just a wild ride of doing everything, and especially because we don't have family around, obviously, by choice. You obviously have moved from Canada. I'm from Victoria, now in Queensland, and doing it all on your own is one of the most rewarding things that you could ever do, but one of the most toughest things that you can do as well, especially if you're the one making all the decisions and going to all the appointments and, doing all of the tasks yourself. And then on top of that, working and also wanting to chase your dreams, healing and all the rest of it. It's a humbling experience as well, to be honest. It really makes you just see the other side. And knowing that you actually can do it all. Like I have a really busy week this week and Jules had a really busy last week. I feel like we've just flipped exactly what you were doing last week and I'm having it this week, like literally to a T. And we just repeat to each other, we know that we're going to get through it. Like at the end of every week, we get through it no matter what. Curse words included. and tears and all the rest of it. But what's your take on single mum life, honey?
Yeah, there were so many times last week where I was like, how am I going to do all of this? House inspection. And then, somehow toilet training as well, amongst it all, like just sort of happened. But, and then the appointments, like we always just have so many appointments because of Hattie's medical needs and things like that. But yeah, it was just insane. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I wanted to make the cake. I've never baked a cake in my life. And I was like, I want to make an allergy-friendly cake. Times are tough. Finances are tough at the moment. It's tough out here as a single mom. We only have one income as well. And so I think, I was just trying to cut corners wherever I could so that I would have a little bit more to like give him an experience and, have his little friends for a party and all the rest of it. So, because having an allergy cake is something like $200, or I remember paying last year and the year before, which is just
insane.
Yeah, so I ended up making it, which I think all up, it probably cost me under $40 to get the mixes. And obviously I didn't have like a cake pan and, the icing, little funnel things and I don't know, all the rest of it. But yeah, so it was really busy. And I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to do it. And I had made like a plan every night of how I would get through the week. And I friggin' did it. And I remember just voice noting you being like, I did it. Like, we always think we're not going to do it, and we always do. Somehow we muster the energy. Somehow we muster the strength. We do little parts of it along the week so that when it comes to the day, we don't have to do as much, and we just do it. Like, I love us. We're so organized.
Literally, sometimes I think you're not, but when you actually really have to hone in and be like, where can I make time? You freaking make it. Like, we, honest to God, have superpowers as moms. Like, there's just something when we birth that child, we just like activate a superpower. Because I think back to previous, like before being a mom, like I would never have got as much done. Like, no way. Like, life was hard I used to think life was hard back then, and then now you got 3 other humans or 1 other human, and you got all these appointments, especially when you're healing and all the rest of it. There's just so many added things in there, and you do get it done.
Exactly. And I think the thing that I find really difficult about being a single mom is, aside from your friends, like, you don't actually have someone that's like there to take over. You can't just be like, oh, I've had a really hard day, or oh, this has happened, or healing was crap today in psychology. I need a hot minute. Can you go pick up the kids? Can you do the bath? Can you have dinner prepped? Like, we don't have that. There's no one. And so one thing that always keeps me going is, I'm like, Jules, there's no one coming to save you. Like, it's you. Like, you've got to do it. He's got to be fed. He's got to be bathed. He's got to, go to bed. He's got to have all of these things in order for you to give him the nurturing development that you want to. So in order to do that, you've got to step up, no matter how tired you are, no matter how sick you are, no matter how, how much you're going through your healing era. Like, he always comes first.
100%. It's a wild ride.
It's crazy.
Like, I'm just like fully reflecting right now, like how fucking wild it is.
Yeah. And like, so many tears, but also so much laughter. Like, I just, And for a long time before I had Hudson, I always sat here and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to do this without like a father figure? And there are times where I still get so sad because I'm like, oh, he actually doesn't have any male role models aside from like some of my friends' hobbies, because my brothers are in Canada, but even still, like, my dad wasn't involved, so he doesn't have a grandfather on that side. My grandfather passed away recently, which was his great grandfather, which they spoke on FaceTime all the time. So he doesn't actually have that male role model. But there was a long time where I was like, oh, this is going to be really hard. And, I really wish it was his dad would step up. But now I'm like, oh, I think that would have made things really difficult. I think, and I can't speak about co-parenting because I've never done co-parenting, but I think it would be really challenging for me to have to give up time with him during the week. Like, I just think he's only got my belief systems, my morals, which he'll develop his own as he grows, right? But he's only got the one person to know and to guide him and to lead him and to teach him. So that's all he knows, so he's not having to juggle back and forth, and he's not having to, be let down by dads and all the rest of it. So I can only speak on our experience, and I know it's difficult, and I'm sure you can touch on yours now, babe, but I'm see all these horrendous stories about, the things dads are doing, or they won't show up, or, they're withholding finances and all the rest of it. And I just think, oh, I'm actually quite grateful that I don't have to worry about any of that, and it's actually like a little blessing in disguise. If a man's not going to be all in and full in and play that full role and be a full father figure, and full co-parenter and do it nicely and amicably, then it's almost easier as a single mom for me to just do it all on my own. Like, I'd rather do it on my own than have to deal with, nasty messages and narcissistic traits and, threats and, threats of not sending the money. Like, yes, I only have one income and it's only me, but I'm not having to rely on anyone else. It's just me.
Yeah, I guess in that aspect, because I also have a friend that's went down the sperm donating sort of thing. And I'm like, if I had my time over with my experience, I would totally do that. Obviously, when they get into teenage life, especially boys, they do crave that masculine energy 100%. And I see that with my kids. Obviously, Heath and Kobe, they still see their dad. But we go through phases with co-parenting where it's just like, it sometimes gets good and then it just falls completely. And yeah, it's really hard to navigate somebody else's emotions and all the rest of it. And especially like, I feel like I just have this standard of what a man should be to their children. And I think sometimes it really freaking hurts when it's not that they're not meeting a standard, but you know that your kids are worth more and they're not providing financially, emotionally, you know, all of the rest of it. And then they can play Disney dad and all the rest of it when your kids are around them. And then, but you're the one doing all the hard work. You're the one doing all the appointments, the homework, the check-ins with the teachers and all of the rest of it. And that comes with being a mum 100%. I'm not taking away from that. But when you've got the whole emotional load, the physical, the, you know, the financial load, and then they're just doing their little bit, it sometimes gets really frustrating. And I've done like forgiveness releasing and all of the rest of it, but sometimes you're just like, fuck you. Like, actually, fuck you, because like I'm doing the best I can and you're wanting the dad to still be in their life, but they're not meeting you, or they don't have the same standard of life that you want for your children. And yeah, sometimes you can get belittled by them or spoken down to, or do their little things, and it's just really hard to navigate co-parenting sometimes. Sometimes it has its really highs and then other times really lows. And yeah, I wish for one day that, you know, our co-parenting will be, you know, just ebbing and flowing a lot more nicely than what it is right now. We did have a really good period, which I touched on in another episode, but it's now not great and it's just really hard. So all the people out there co-parenting, I see you, and especially if you're the parent doing all the work and the inner work and trying to get the kids to, you know, go to appointments to heal and, you know, psychologists and pediatricians, all of the rest of it. I see you, because I know what it's like, and to actually want a better life for your children, and the other one not so much. It's like push and pull, and then when you're got that standard for their life, you then have to take on the more financial, I guess, responsibility to provide that life for them.
And how hard is it when, like, I know I've been there supporting you when, you know, they're with you basically how many days in a year? 365. They're with you like 349 days of the year, and they go to dad's for 2 days and they come back and they're like, oh, dad's the best. And it's like, what? It's like, but look at all the things that your mom is doing for you, but he gets to do the fun things. And it's like, you know, you have to be the rule enforcer, as you said. And like, oh, it breaks my heart because I just see the woman that you are and all the things that you do in the background. And I said to you, and I've said to you, I know very recently that I've like really resonated and realized what my mom did as a mama. And so I'm like, I know, you know, now it sucks, but in the future, they're going to realize, you know, they're going to make that connection and realize that, holy crap, mom did everything.
Yeah, 100%. Which is a beautiful thing too, because I know that a lot of people don't leave relationships and stuff like that because they know that all of the financial pressure, not most of the time, there is amazing dads out there, 100%. I know plenty of them that are physically, emotionally, you know, financially supporting their children till death do them part. But I feel like a lot of people don't leave relationships because they know they have this thing in their head, oh, I won't be able to afford life or whatever. So they stay in an unhappy relationship for the kids, or because they doubt themselves, they're not going to be able to provide. And if anyone's listening right now, I go against that. I'm like, you can do anything. As soon as you have all that responsibility on you, you just do it. Like you make it work. You advocate for yourself. You find your voice. There's so many like positive things about it. But sometimes it does get fucking tiring. But it's the same as being in an unhappy relationship or marriage. That gets tiring too. So it's like choose your hard. And I chose my hard of being a single mom because I didn't want to be in a relationship where it was toxic, and I didn't want my kids to grow up with the beliefs that he has about the world and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
That's me clapping. I'm clapping. Don't know how that's going to come out, but that was clapping. So funny. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like being a mother means being completely and totally overwhelmed. Like you're overwhelmed by lots of things in the best possible way, obviously, by love, by joy, by responsibility, selflessness. Like, it just means those sleepless nights, those big belly laughs, the caterpillars on the coffee table, the finger painting in the kitchen, the stubbed toes, you know, the puking from seeing your poo for the first time in the toilet.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Motherhood has made life just much more beautiful and colorful than I ever thought it could be. Like, you know, I've just got this little person that walks around and looks up to me and follows me everywhere and like just loves me with their whole heart and soul. Like, Hudson's beautiful thing lately has, Mommy, you're my best friend and no one's going to take you. You're my best friend. And I'm like, I am your best friend. And just me, my best friend? I'm like, yes, baby, you're my only best friend. Okay. Like, you know, he just has so much love to give, and you can just see the adoration. Like, he just adores me when he looks at me. And it's like, you know, it's the best feeling in the world to know that you are raising little human beings that are going to go out into the world, and also the scariest at the same time.
I know. I'm at that point now where my kids are like older, and I'm just like, I just want them back as toddies, like where I can kind of control what they do and make them go to appointments and, you know, do all the things. But yeah, it's beautiful. There's actually this reel that I watched on Instagram, and it was, I don't know if I've said this in a previous episode, but it was pretty much, they asked all of the parents who would they like to have dinner with, and all of the parents were saying, you know, like Madonna or Kylie Minogue and, you know, all of these celebrities. And then they interviewed the kids, and I got goosebumps. It's so sad how we think like this, hey? And then they interviewed the kids, and all of the kids said they just wanted their family to have dinner with. Like, if they were to bring anyone up back, past, present, or, you know, whatever. And all of the kids said their parents or all of their extended family and stuff. And then they replayed it back to the parents, and the parents were like bawling their eyes out, because in the kids' world, we are their world. But then to parents, we're looking, like, as parents, we're looking at other people when our kids should be our whole fucking world. Like, the reason why we commit to healing journeys and to chase our dreams and stuff is because we want to show our kids. We want to heal for our kids. We want to show them that we can chase our dreams. And just having that vision in your head that your kids are looking up to you like you're their whole world, you're their safety. Like, and the best thing that we can do for them is to provide a safe space. And if you haven't been in one for quite some time, like I wasn't, just start now, because it's never too late to start healing and all the rest of it for your kids. But remember that your kids think you're the whole, like, you're the bee's fucking knees to them, and they should be to us as well. So yeah.
I remember you sending me that, and I full on cried. I was like, wow, like that hits home. We spend so much time on our phones these days in this day and age. And it's like, something I'm really trying to do is be more present in the moment. Because when we're on our phones always, like, we're escaping this little human, and before you know it, another birthday has come, and before you know it, you're sitting here and you're like, oh my goodness, like, you know, what did we do? What did we do? What did we do? You know, and you're trying to think of the memories, but we need to be making more beautiful core memories. And that's something, as I was trying to say, that I'm focusing on a lot more at the moment is, you know, putting that phone away and spending more intentional time and creating those core memories. And I know all he wants to ever do is play cars, and that's so fine. And it's hard for us to actually sit down and be present. We're always thinking about the future or to-do list, but it's just play with your kids. We need to play more. So that's something that really comes forward is just really getting down there, getting on their level. Like that's the stuff that means the whole world to them, is you being in their world, letting your own inner child play as well.
Amen. And it's kind of hard navigating as a mom with boys as well, because they just do different things to probably what we did as kids. Like, I find that sometimes hard. Like, 'cause my guys just want to be on motorbikes and building stuff and, you know, just doing boy things. And I'm just like, let's go get our nails done. But it's sort of beautiful too, because it opens you up.
Absolutely. There's a quote that I read that I want to drop in here, because I think it really sums up what we were just talking about really beautifully. Being a mama can be tough, but always remember, in the eyes of your child, no one does it better than you. And that the author is unknown.
Oh, it's so true, hey. Oh, little honeys.
I know. Adore them. I adore them. Was there anything else you wanted to say on co-parenting, babe?
Just know that your kids are going to get older one day, I think, and they're going to obviously be able to make their own choices and stuff like that, and the communication won't be have to be as apparent as what it is when they're littlies. But yeah, I feel like just focusing on healing yourself and being the biggest advocate for yourself and your children is the best thing that you can do. Setting boundaries if needed. It just depends on your situation. Some people have co-parenting that's seamless, other people not so much. So just depending on your circumstances. But I think, one of the biggest things is using a voice and having that vision, that clear vision for your kid's life, and sticking with it and doing everything that you can to bring it to life.
How hard is healing as a mama, though, as well?
It's so hard. It's crazy. It's hard, but it's also empowering as well, because when you have those breakthroughs, you're like, holy wow. And then it just changes your whole way that you parent. Like, there's some epiphanies I've had and I'm just like, holy wow. Like those reels and stuff that you see, you're just like, when your perspective shifts a little bit, it just you become more present and more aware, which sometimes is a blessing and a curse as well, because more self-aware that you become, you're like, oh, like, am I spending enough time with him? Like when you got multiple children, you're like, oh my God, am I pouring enough love into all of them? Am I doing enough? Like, but you totally are. Mum life is hard. Single mum life is hard. And yeah, committing to healing is hard, but choose your hard, because so staying stuck in the same place as what you were. So
exactly. And the mum guilt sometimes.
Bomb.
Raise your hand if you've ever had mom guilt. If you're a mama, raise your hand. Yeah, everyone's hand is raised. I know it. You're raising your hand in the car. You're raising your hand wherever you are listening to this podcast.
We see you. We
do. We absolutely do see you. Mom guilt is hard because you can't avoid it. Like, I don't care who you are. You get mom guilt for sure. And yeah, it's just being able to give yourself that grace and navigating it and feeling it. I know we go on about this all the time, but just really feel that guilt and feel those feelings. And I know one thing that really stands, firm for me in my parenting journey is making sure that I am breaking that generational trauma. I am creating new pathways for not only me and us and Hudson, but for future generations and healing past generations along the way. So yeah, I just, most of the time I'll get mom guilt because I'll be like, ah! And, I've got so much tension built up, or I've had such a stressful day and there's no one to take off the load and I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I'll just yell, and I know we've touched on that as well in past episodes, but just giving yourself grace and apologizing. Apologize to your little human. Just say, I'm sorry. And this all goes hand in hand with teaching them about emotions and acknowledging and labeling their emotions. And we want to raise little humans, little men and women that are being able to go out into the world and express how they're feeling, express what they're thinking, have a voice. So I always come back to apologizing and labeling my own feelings and being like, mommy was feeling angry and she was having trouble regulating herself. Next time, instead of yelling, mommy can do, and I'll model doing one of the things that I teach him to do when he's having big emotions.
Yeah, communication. We always talk about it in relationships and friendships, but it's also to do with your children as well. And from a very young age, I can see in my healing through each of my kids. And Kobe just knows how to express how he feels. He asks for what he wants and all the rest of it, whereas the other two didn't, because I didn't really know how to parent, really, because I was such a young mom. And you can read all the books and stuff, but yeah, communication is really key. And your kids need to know that you're human as well and you have emotions. So if you're a mom that's like holding everything in and not showing, like, you just always got your shit together, like, I feel like that's like almost a false perception as well, that you can showing them that you have emotions, that you get upset sometimes, and obviously regulating yourself and saying, mommy's a little bit sad right now and I just need some space. And, like, being the role model for them. And then understanding the cues as well. Like Kobe and Heath will be like, I need space right now. I need some space. Or Oliver will use like, we don't take yesterday's problems into tomorrow. Like little things like that they learn along their little journeys. So yeah, we got to be the example for them.
Absolutely. I love that. Aw. We are raising the next generation of beautiful, loving, caring men. I know they're still boys. Well, yours are adolescents. But, yeah, I just think, you know, these boys that we are raising are going to be some beautiful woman's, you know, manifested hubby.
Yeah, literally. I actually want to speak into, because this is something I'm navigating at the moment as well, is children's behavior, and especially when they're in teenage world and they've been through teenage era, and they've been through some trauma and stuff like that. I'm navigating this currently with my teenager, and the behavior is just so insane. And I just want to like give everyone like a little chat about not judging other people's kids' behavior, because you never know what people are trying to do in the back end. And sometimes your kid doesn't have the coping mechanisms to deal with their emotions and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're a mama out there and you're navigating big behaviors in your home, please lean on friends and family for support. Have some time away from each other, allow that space and all the rest of it, to reinstall boundaries and all the rest of it as well. But also, if you're a mama and your children don't go through any behavioral issues like that, and I know everyone navigates their own things in their own home, please do not judge another mama or that child and label them, because it is really something that we're navigating, and it's really fucking hard, especially labeling the child as naughty or, all the rest of it, because when you are consistently relaying that to a child, they're just going to eventually act that because that's what they're labeled as. So yeah, we're navigating that in our home right now, and it's really hard. Like, it's so challenging. Like, half the week my brain didn't even work, even this morning before getting on the podcast. And it's a big thing to navigate, especially if you're a solo mom, but even if you're in a relationship as well. It's huge, like dealing with someone else's emotions whilst you're trying to heal and navigate your own as well. So giving everybody some grace out there that's navigating it. I know a lot of people don't actually talk about it, and I've talked about it with parents and stuff like that. They're like, oh, we went through all this. And on the outside, you wouldn't even think that they navigated anything like they have. And they have. It's just people don't like openly and vulnerably talk about it because they want everyone to think they're doing fine. But yeah.
I'm so proud of you for sharing that and for sharing that message for the world to hear, because I know it has been super difficult lately in your home with your boys and, safety and all the rest of it. But I think the one thing that you've held true to is just like being calm in yourself, and trying your best to be calm in yourself. And I see you and all that you're doing and all that you're navigating, and I'm on the other end of it, listening and holding the space for you. And yeah, it all comes back to behaviors, communication.
100%. And teach him how to regulate. Like, I never knew how to regulate my emotions until, the last year or so. Like, I had done personal development and stuff, but if you're able to learn that when your kids are young and teach them from a young age, like, you're just going to birth these like really intuitive humans that are embodied in themselves, and they have all the coping mechanisms. And obviously life gets the better of some people sometimes, and no one's perfect, but if you're able to teach your kids like simple, like dropping into your body exercises, some breath work, some meditation, or even just asking, Mum, I need some space, or Mum, I need to release some anger, or whatever, having things like somatic bats and boxing bags and all the rest of it for your kids to release anger. That's the emotion that we're navigating right now in our home, is anger. And it's made me realize and research a lot about how we can healthily express anger. And now I have them conversations with Heath and Kobe. So the conversations change when you are healing and growing as a mom as well. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Lots to navigate as a mom. It's never a dull moment, ever. Ever. No, it's not. And you just got to keep showing up, hey? And you got to keep doing what you do and believing in yourself. And yeah.
Because what's the alternative, really, at the end of the day? That's what I said on my story the other day, and so many people resonated with that. It's like, what's the alternative? Like, to give up, to not chase your dreams, to not live out your dream life, and just because things are happening, like, what's the alternative? So, yeah. Exactly.
And try not to compare your journey to others. Like, it's hard because what one child is like, or one mom or one parent is so different. And this is something between Dayelene and I. I've got a little Toddy who's, just turned 3, whereas Daylene's boys are much bigger. And we are both at similar stages of our healing journey, but our children are different ages. So things can come out, and learnings and epiphanies and all the rest of it can come out in different ways. But the most important thing is to just hold that space for your friend, however they are, whatever they're navigating, whatever they're going through. Just hold the space, even if you can't empathize with what they're going through now. Maybe you will one day, or maybe you won't ever, but just hold the space and let them feel seen and heard, I think is really important.
100%, because you can feel like you're so alone with what you're doing. But once you start opening up to people, that a lot of people have had similar experiences, or they were the same sort of teenager. Yeah.
And I know, like, really recently, for a lot of my life, I struggled and I held resentment to my own mama, because I would be like, well, why didn't you help me in my childhood? Why this, why that? Why did we get in a fight after, I came forward about my trauma that she didn't know was happening? And then it wasn't until, a month ago, where I was like, wow, imagine being my mom. Imagine being my mom and what she navigated, and, putting myself really in her shoes. And it was like the resentment and everything just went away. Obviously, I still love her, have loved her all these years exponentially. But there was a little part of me that would sometimes be angry or not seen or not heard. And, I would feel like she just doesn't get me, or, why didn't this happen? And I would have all these questions. And then it just dawned on me. And I got to this pivotal stage of my healing journey where I was like, oh my God, like my mom, I've always known, and I've always followed along with my mom, did the best that she could with the tools that she had. But I think for once it really hit me, where I was like, wow, imagine what she would have had to navigate finding that out, or having to deal with DV, or all the things that she would have navigated as a mama. And I'm just so friggin' proud of her as a woman. So mama, if you're listening, I'm so proud of you. And it's crazy to see like how our relationship has grown through my healing journey. We have grown in our relationship, and I will go to my mom for anything. And I know that she'll support me and love me, and she always has. But there was still that little part of me from when I was little that, had to heal in order for me to see my mom for the woman that she is.
100%. And back in those generations as well, they didn't have the resources like we do now as well. And also I was having a talk with somebody, she's in her 50s, and she was talking about how open and vulnerable we're on the podcast. And she was like, we just weren't like that back then. So it was just a completely different generation as well. Hey, they weren't so open and vulnerable, and but Mama Jules, as we say.
We call our moms, like Daylene's mom is Mama Day. To me.
Mama Jules. It's so beautiful. But seeing them both grow as humans, is so beautiful. Like my mom is the same, where I didn't talk to my mom for 6 years. And I think there's just been heaps of things that we've had to talk about over, since we've reconnected and all the rest of it. And when you do healing, things do come up, but 100% you get to the point of fuck, the things that they navigated and, still navigating now, and then navigating, children that are having things coming up for them through their healing journeys and stuff, and having to bear that too. Because obviously we're both very open humans. We talk to our mums about things. It's beautiful to reflect on just what they navigated. Poor honeys. I'm very proud of my mum as well. She has never really traveled. And recently she came up to Airlie and she flew all by herself for the first time ever. And now she is going overseas for the first time to Thailand and Bali for 7 days each. And just so proud. And she's been going to music concerts. She never had been to a music concert before. And it's just it's just like a rebirthing for our moms as well. It's just crazy, isn't it, watching it?
And I feel like us sharing our healing journeys, and us sharing a lot of things on the podcast that they're like, whoa. And we're like, yeah, sorry. We're sharing all, I think has really, kind of helped them in a way heal a little bit too.
Yeah, because they're listening from a different, like, we're not talking directly to them. We're talking through conversation with ourselves, like, and they're being able to listen in and see it from a different perspective. I think it's so, we didn't expect that. Like, this is something bonus that's come from the podcast, that our mums are healing things through our conversations and our potties. So how cool is that?
Absolutely. Oh,
bless them.
Healing generations of trauma.
Literally, we're going deep backwards.
We are. It's never ending, but there's always light at the end of that tunnel. And yeah, I'm just so proud of us. I'm so proud of our moms. I'm so proud of women everywhere for what they navigate. Because navigating all of this stuff and then the hormones, like, could you imagine? Men, could you imagine if there's any men listening? Highly unlikely by this stage of the episode.
Yeah, we're actually birthing stories and all.
But yeah, imagine being a man. Like, it just seems so much easier.
Literally.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. I actually love being a woman and being girly and, all the rest of it. But yeah, we are magical. We are unicorns. We are superheroes. So if you don't notice it, take a look over your shoulder and see that huge cape that you're wearing every single day, because every single one of you that is listening, you are a superwoman.
You're a queen, honey. I'm going to drop a quote right here. When you are a mother, you're never really alone in your thoughts. A mother always has to think twice, once for herself and once for a child. Sophia Loren.
So good. Like, the quotes just seamlessly go with what we're talking about. And it's just so crazy how they pop out to us. Like, we'll go in search of them and they just really, like, it's just like, yes, that's the one. That's the one we're going to drop today. I'm going to follow with one by Oprah, actually, which is, I believe the choice to become a mother is the choice to become one of the greatest spiritual teachers there is. Bam.
Amen. You learn so much about yourself when you become a mom, hey? Oh my God. I've got goosebumps again, but it's just, and every level that they get through, you learn new things about yourself, and you're just like, it just shines light on some of the things that you're needing to heal or grow through or expand on, especially communication. Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
Crazy. I'm sure we could go on and on and on and on for days, but believe it or not, this episode is an hour long.
What? Can we ask? Oh, we could talk underwater. We're going to be so tired later.
So true. And this is off the back end. We just recorded one before this. So I'm sure we could go on forever, but I think we got our main messages and our main points across. And yeah, Mother's Day is coming up. So celebrate your mama, celebrate yourself as a mama. And yeah, just really have a moment, have a hot minute to tune in and think to yourself, how friggin' wonderful am I? Because you are. Every single one of you. Every single beautiful lady that is listening to us. We see you and we love you.
All our love.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Hello, beautiful humans. This is Dayelene and Jules from the Empowering Women Project, and you're listening to the EWP podcast.
This podcast is for the women who know deep in their soul they are here for more. If you are done with the BS stories and limiting beliefs that are holding you back from your dreams becoming a reality,
come jump in the driver's seat and pave the way back home to her. This is a space for you to feel seen, heard, supported, and accepted for who you are, who you were, and who you're becoming.
Celebrating you wherever you are in your journey. Sit back, grab a tea or a wine, and come empower yourself with us. Jules and Day, let's grow.